How Celtic saved Rangers from financial ruin in 1920. A fact many still refuse to accept. The modern Glasgow rivalry is built on hostility, denial, and selective memory. Chants, slogans, and myths have replaced facts. But history doesn't care about tribalism. And one of the most uncomfortable facts in Scottish football history is this. In 1920, Rangers Football Club was in serious financial trouble. And it was Celtic who stepped in to save them. Not a bank, not wealthy backers, not the football authorities, their greatest rivals. The First World War had left Scottish football financially fragile. Clubs were struggling with rising costs, uncertain crowds, and long-delayed infrastructure projects. Rangers were no exception. Despite their stature, they were operating on a knife edge. The heart of the problem was Ibrox Stadium. Years earlier, tragedy had already struck the ground, and by the late 1910s, Rangers were pushing forward with major redevelopment work to expand and modernise Ibrox. Terraces were being rebuilt, capacity was being increased, ambition was high, but ambition costs money, and Rangers ran out of it. By 1920, the club was facing a full-scale cash flow crisis. Bills were mounting, contractors needed paid, wages still had to be met. Failure to do so would not have meant a bad season. It would have meant insolvency. Make no mistake, Rangers were staring straight at financial disaster. At this point, pride had to be swallowed, because Rangers turned to Celtic. Celtic agreed to loan Rangers £10,000. That figure cannot be brushed aside or downplayed. In 1920, £10,000 was an enormous sum, the equivalent of hundreds of thousands of pounds today, potentially more depending on calculation. This was not loose change. This was not charity. It was a rescue package. Without that loan, Rangers would not have been able to continue business as usual. Stadium work would have stalled, financial obligations would have been missed, and the club's very existence would have been placed in jeopardy. This is not opinion. This is recorded history. Celtic did not exploit the situation. They did not demand control. They did not seek to humiliate their rivals. The loan was given because Celtic understood something that modern football fans often refuse to acknowledge. Scottish football needed Rangers to survive. The league needed competition. The gate receipts depended on major fixtures. The entire structure was fragile. If Rangers had collapsed in 1920, the damage would have gone far beyond one club. Celtic chose pragmatism over pettiness, stability over spite, and Rangers survived. The loan was eventually repaid in full. Rangers continued. Ibrox was completed. But here's where the story becomes uncomfortable. This chapter is rarely spoken about. It's omitted from rivalry narratives. It's ignored in chants, glossed over in debates, and often outright denied. Because it doesn't fit the myth. It challenges the idea of absolute superiority. It undermines the fantasy of self-sufficiency. And it exposes a moment when Rangers' fate rested in Celtic's hands. At a critical moment in history, when Rangers were vulnerable, Celtic could have done nothing. And Rangers might not have survived. Instead, Celtic stepped in. In an era before football became poisoned by permanent division, one club chose to protect the game itself. Even if that meant helping their fiercest rival. That fact will always be uncomfortable for some. But discomfort does not change history. The rivalry is loud, the chants are louder, but the truth is older and far harder to shout down.